Good morning. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Making an Impact Live. If you're new to this series, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Salita Roberts, founder of Style to Impact, which is an image coaching and personal styling agency geared towards women empowerment through style. My goal is to give women the clarity, confidence, and closet they need so that they can increase their influence, impact, and of course, your income. Once again, thank you very much for joining me. And today I have a very, very, very special guest. As I said, my goal is to help you increase your income. And I think my guest today will be able to help us as women uh, become financially independent, because I think when it comes to women and money, it's not a conversation that happens a lot. So I want to introduce you today to my guest, which is Miss Amy Getz. Thank you very much, Amy, for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time for being here. Thank you
Selena,
very
I'm
much.
so excited. Thank you. I love, love, love to do these LinkedIn Lives. I love to connect with people and share the message of wealthy women change the world. So let's start having the conversations.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what something I want to talk about, wealthy women changing the world, because I don't think we really focus on understanding what that means and how women being financially able and financially stable, how we can make the changes in the world. So, but before I get to that, I want to introduce you to my audience. So, as I
I
said,
love it.
Amy Getz is my guest for today. Amy believes that wealth and financial freedom are for everyone, and is especially passionate about helping women know their worth. She's an advisor with IRC Wealth and an SEC registered investment, which is an SEC registered investment firm in Atlanta, Georgia, and a CPA and CDFA, which means Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. She's also the Money and Financial Chapter Director of the National What Women Want Networking Organization. Amy is on a mission to educate women about their finances and empower them to set big goals for their financial future. Letting go of limiting beliefs around money and facing the real numbers allow women to quiet the stress loop in their mind and evaluate and elevate everyone around them. Wealthy women change the world. That for me is where it all lies, because I don't think, as I said, I know for me growing up, right? I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with, you know, that entrepreneurial spirit. I didn't grow up with anything like that. It was just the basic knowledge when it came to finances. Make money, pay your bills, and try as much as you can to save where you can, right? There wasn't anything major happening in my household. And as I grew into adulthood, luckily for me, and I always say luckily for me because I wanted to go into law, but life happened and I went into finance. And that's where I kind of gained some of that knowledge of the importance of not just saving the regular savings, but making investments and really owning my finances and managing it in a way that I am financially secure and independent going forward. So the first thing I want to talk about, Amy, it's that mindset when it comes to what is that mindset that women need to develop to be able to not only become wealthy but to manage their finances better.
I love this topic because I often say everyone knows how to get wealthy, right? You spend less than you make and save your money. But
Yeah.
why is it that people struggle to actually put that into practice? And it all comes down to limiting beliefs. As women, we often expect more from ourselves, expect more from our gender, and also feel like maybe we don't deserve as much as
Yeah.
males. And I think that is where we need to start lifting up and empowering women and letting them know that finance is it's not just a single sport, right? It's a team sport, whether that's with your business partner, your domestic partner, but you need to be actively involved in the conversation. A lot of times women abdicate that role because they feel like they're not adequately capable. They haven't, learn the skills. And what I want to do is recognize and allow women to understand that it's simple. I think I would say it's simple. It's just not easy because it takes effort. But everyone, especially women, can learn how to manage their finances, can learn how to play an active role in that, and let go of the limiting beliefs that it has to be hard, that it's not something that they're good at, that it's just confusing and they don't want to understand. It's really not. You just need someone to be accountable to that can help you walk through the basic concepts. And I've said before, I feel like our country's doing a disservice to our students because we don't teach financial education in our schools as much as we should. It's not required for any graduation. And I think it's setting up generations, and especially women, to not feel engaged in it, to feel like it's like the monster under the bed. And what I often say is when you turn on the lights and look under the bed, there's not actually a monster. You've made it out to be such a big deal in your head. And I feel like finances is the same. Like we just avoid it thinking it's going to be terrible. And almost always it's not. It's really just like shining a light on it, really giving it some attention, and where, what the saying is, energy flows where attention goes, or you know what I'm trying to say. But like the point is spend some time with it, get comfortable with it, and recognize that you are perfectly capable of managing your finances and thriving in the financial arena.
Yeah, do you think it's a case of, we're talking about in the educational system, the school system, where it's not being taught. Do you think that is like the driving force behind why women are not comfortable with whether or not it's getting into stocks and trading and these different things? Because we're not familiar with it. It's not something that it's in our wheelhouse. We were taught to. So when it comes to managing the home, as you're living in a home, there's certain things you manage. Yes, we manage the finance by making sure the bills are paid, by making sure the kids are taken care of, by making sure everything is done. But we never stepped out to say, okay, what is a stock? How can I invest? Do you think that lack of education is what's stopping us from doing it? And how can we change that?
I think that's partly it. I think it's the lack of education in our school systems to focus on any sort of financial concepts. But I also think what happens is we pay attention to what's modeled in our childhood. Most people's money beliefs are determined in their childhood. So if your family you really need to think about the languaging around money and recognize that the language and the actions have to meet, and it has to be a positive experience and association. And I think oftentimes what's happened is our parents' generation, talked about how it has to be so hard to earn money, and, you're just working to pay taxes, and you have to work hard to make a living. And your money beliefs tend to not actually be your own. They tend to be taken from your parents or important influences in your life. And I want to challenge anyone, especially women, to look at those beliefs and determine if they're actual truth to it, or it's just what has been heard and modeled over the years. Like the concept of having to work so hard for your money. If that were actually the case, then the people who are in the day-to-day back-breaking jobs in the heat, on their feet, those would be the people making the most money. But that's not always the case. Yeah. So again, it goes back to that limiting belief. You don't have to work harder to earn more money. You have to work smarter. Or the limiting belief of, I'm just working to pay taxes. Well, we live in the greatest country, on the planet. And yes, we do have to pay taxes, but it's not a dollar for dollar tax, increase. And so what we need to understand and appreciate is that if we're paying more in taxes, it's because we're earning more, and that is inherently a good thing. Yeah. And there's always strategies to reduce your taxes, legal, above board, IRS incentives. And it's really just finding someone that can help you understand that. And I think people often feel embarrassed about their money stories or their money position, but I want to encourage folks to say, reach out to ask someone for help, because when you're sick, you go to the doctor. If your car is not working, you go to a mechanic. Focus on your zone of genius. And there are people like myself and other financial experts that are here to help, that are here to educate you. At IRC Wealth, our core values are education, planning, and simplicity. The more you know about your money, the better decisions you're going to make. And so education is important. I think sometimes in the financial industry, especially as it relates to women and the fact that there's so few female advisors, we make it seem like we're so much smarter and you need us to handle your money, which, yeah, I think it's great to have the accountability and the coaching, but you are perfectly capable of understanding and asking questions and making sure that you feel comfortable with the information that you and your financial provider are doing. I think it's important to have a plan, right? You're not going to get in the car and go on a road trip without a map, or even just, are you going to the mountains or the beach? You need to have a plan for where you're going. So helping people determine that plan is important. And I think simplicity, people don't want, our world today is so busy. People just need simple to-do lists, simple tasks to accomplish, and the accountability every few months to get there. And that's what financial professionals can do. I think it's recognizing that. Challenge the beliefs that you have. Are they truly yours, or did they come passed down generationally? And know that you can change those and empower yourself to do better for your future.
Oh no, I love that, and I think we take for granted that in the households that we grew up in and the surroundings that we're in, they shape so much of us, right? We tend to think as adults that we created our own as to who we are and our values, but there's so many things that without realizing it that have shaped our beliefs. And I know definitely in, as you said, in those households where you're told to work hard, or you're told to, oh, you're just working to pay your bills, and you're not necessarily working smart enough and saving and planning and having these conversations where you say, okay, yes, even if I'm making $1, how can I live the life that I want with this dollar, and how can I plan for my future? And I think that's a great place to start, is really having that self-awareness, that self-talk, and identifying what are your beliefs when it comes to money. How do you talk about money? Is it something that you feel embarrassed of? And that's something that you mentioned, where especially when we're in financial debt, you have like a $50,000 loan. You don't want anybody to know that you have a $50,000 loan and you have a kid in school, or you have a medical emergency that came up. You don't want anybody to know that you're struggling, which is kind of sad, right? Because you never know who or how someone can help you. They may not be able to help you with, oh, here's a check, but let me help you manage and kind of look at how can we allocate, what can we do, what come up with a plan basically as to how to go about approaching your death. And I think that that's something that a conversation that needs to happen, right? It
absolutely is. I think so often people don't realize the potential options available to them because it's not their zone of genius. They don't spend every day working in and around people and managing their finances and understanding like how can we strategize? How can we get this paid off and still save for your future? It's not an all or nothing sport as well. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We tend to think that when we're planning or we're working and we're managing on our finances, it's like, oh, I can only do one thing at a time, right? And not realizing that not necessarily. You just have to be a little bit smart about it. You just have to be a little bit smart about it and having the confidence to do different things. I know, working in wealth management before, it was most of our clients were male, right? They're the ones that came in and talked about how to manage it. I have this and I want to manage it. And even if they came with a spouse, she didn't contribute to the conversation. She wasn't there for that. And at the time I looked at it, I was like, okay, it's kind of like nothing. It's what it is, because that's what I knew as well, right? You didn't make the money, so to speak, so you didn't necessarily manage the money, like in terms of what those investments are, and I think that's a conversation that needs to happen. Once you're in a relationship and you're in a household, you're in any type of, I want to say family unit, that those discussions should be happening, whether or not you are contributing as a woman to what's happening in the household. But I think one of the things that I had someone commented that she was working on her money confidence and managing her monies and becoming a little bit more comfortable with it. What would you say to that individual who is thinking that, okay, I lack the confidence to maybe get into investments, or how to manage my debt, or whatever the situation is? What advice would you give that person in terms of how to approach the money confidence conversation part of them?
Well, first of all, I'd give them a high five, because the fact that it's in their mind and they're thinking about it is half the battle, right? Awareness is key. And I think from there, it's recognizing that options are available. And it's certainly, you do not does everyone have to work with a financial advisor? Absolutely not. There's plenty of books, plenty of YouTube videos, plenty of resources available to you. And I think it's just breaking it down into simple steps. People first need the awareness. Then I would encourage them to really just look at their numbers. Let's talk about what's coming in, what's going out, what do you have as an investment, an asset, what do you have as debt, and really coming up and determining those numbers. And then from there, it's looking at on a monthly basis. My first thought is, how can you make more money? People always want to cut and scrimp. And I think, you know what? Change the conversation. How can you make 20% more? Because that's a lot more effective than cutting costs. I certainly think cutting costs is important, because I think people need to recognize that they need to live within their means. This is a Kardashian world where people want to really look and feel and act a certain way, when really the reality is that you're not quite there yet. You'll get there with the right mindset, but you're not quite there yet. So, there are some hard conversations where people have to really adjust their spending. It's tough love, but if you can't pay your credit card off every month, then you're living beyond your means. And it's really recognizing that those situations are only temporary. Sometimes you just need a sort of a time period where you cut back and you really get knowledgeable about the money, what's coming in, what's going out, what are my assets, and really look at that. And it's only for a period of time to get the knowledge, to recognize what's important. I think people forget. I think they sort of spend mindlessly, and you need to take the opportunity to be a little bit more specific about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Is it bringing you joy? What is it? What is the reason behind the spending? And I would encourage people to just take the time and make a positive association with it. The whole reward thing, right? Maybe it's a Friday night date. Maybe it's a glass of wine. Maybe it's, I'm going to spend the time doing this, and then I'm going to treat myself to a nice dinner out, or, a pedicure, right? Like, give yourself a little bit of a reward. Crash diets don't work, right? It's very temporary. And it's the same when it comes to your finances. Like, if you don't make it a little bit fun, if you don't treat yourself here and there, then it's not going to be an effective strategy. So yeah. I hope that is helpful, to your viewers, that it's really just not making it overcomplicated. If, no one has to use an actual, QuickBooks or Quicken or whatever. You don't even have to use Excel. You can get out a pen and paper and really write things down. It just doesn't have to be complicated. And I think people make it out to be such a big deal in their head, so they're just paralyzed for action. But really, it's simple. It just is. It's not difficult. It's just a matter of spending the time and energy to look at it and facing it. That's the issue, is people struggle to want to face the information because people don't like change, and they don't want to have to make different decisions when they feel comfortable with where they are.
I agree with that. I think one of the things, it's when I look at it, especially when I look at it from my perspective, it's that when you put the numbers down in terms of, okay, these are my expenses, this is my income, and you have those columns, and you're like, wow, I seem to have, a lot more on my plate than I'm making. So how can I treat myself on, for maybe cutting back or doing something differently? How can I make better investment choices when it seems as though I have so many, other things on my plate, whether or not you have kids, whether or not you have, may have lost your job and you're looking for a new one, you're going through all these different changes. And it's trying to get yourself to that mindset of knowing that, okay, maybe this situation is just temporary, and don't lose sight of that, right? And one of the things that I did for myself is, for every dollar that I made, it could have been 5 cents. There was a percentage of that that goes into savings. And I think it helped me create a plan for myself. It may not be, and I think, as you said, we complicate things. We think, okay, if I can't save $500 or $1,000 or $2,500 a month, then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm failing financially. I'm failing to meet my goals. And I think it's important to break it down into those small steps, as you said, small. What can you do today? What amount can you save today? What credit card can you pay off today? What, just look at it from that perspective. Write it down is important, so and you can see what that picture looks like, and then decipher for yourself, what direction do I go? So what I wanted to know is, like, what are some of the, like, basic savings steps that we should follow, especially those of us who are not making a lot, right? We're not, like, in debt where we're spending more than we're making, but we're not able to really really save the way we wanted to. What are some simple steps that we can follow to just get us on that right track for when we do make that that money that we're looking for, that we're able to make better financial decisions?
You're speaking my love language here, and I want to compliment you and tell you I love your strategy of, even if you're just making a small amount, you are taking a portion of it and setting it aside for savings.
Yes.
And I think people are, I understand that people are trying to pay their bills and trying to live. I get that. But there is something that comes from valuing yourself enough to take even if it's $20, $25 a paycheck, and starting to put that in a savings account. It's showing that you're actually prioritizing yourself, that your financial future is important to you. And it is maybe a small amount now. And you're absolutely right. People think if I can't do 500 or 1,000 or more, then it's not worth it. That is fake news. It is absolutely worth it, because it boosts your self-esteem. It makes you feel like you're prioritizing yourself. And that $20, $25 becomes 50, becomes 100, becomes 250, becomes 500. And that starts to feel good to see that accumulate. So I want to encourage, no matter what your paycheck is, and I know sometimes financial situations are struggle, but pick a small amount and set it up to automatically transfer to a savings account. And I say automatically because, as humans, if we're left to our own design, we will inevitably get to the end of the month and not have it to transfer. So me personally, when my paycheck comes in, the very next business day, I have money going into my savings and investment accounts straight off the top, so that I only live on the difference. And that has helped. It has helped me to stay within my means and also at the same time be able to save. So I would first encourage folks to just start somewhere, start small. But I really want everyone to have an emergency fund. And I know people have heard this. I actually like to call it an opportunity fund, because I think languaging is so important. But have the opportunity to pay for something when it arises, maybe in a special circumstance that you wouldn't have before. Some people say it's 3 months. Some people say it's 6 months worth of expenses. What I say is, what number makes you comfortable? What number helps you make better financial decisions in the moment? And for some people, that might be a smaller number. For some, it might be a bigger number. But we need to be setting aside money into an account where we are keeping it for an opportunity for when something unexpected happens. Once you start to get a comfortable emergency fund, then I would love for people to start. The next place I would always tell everyone to invest is a 401k, because it's pre-tax, it's small amounts, it's dollar cost averaging, it never hits your paycheck, all very important things. And if there's entrepreneurs on here and think, well, I don't work for a company, I don't have a 401k. If you have your own business, you can have your own 401k as an individual entrepreneur. Most people don't know that. I swear I shock people all the time when I say this. And it's the same limits as a corporate.
All right.
$26,000, and you can put that money away pre-tax. That is taking it right off your adjusted gross income and your taxable amount. And that is a huge savings. So not only are you saving taxes, you're using a portion of that to invest for your future. So I would encourage folks to have that opportunity/emergency fund. I would encourage folks to then work on that 401k retirement. And then once you've gotten there, as entrepreneurs, there's other things like profit sharing and personal pension plans for my high earners. But for my corporate people who can only do a max in a 401k, then awesome. Let's start doing an after-tax brokerage account where you're still automatically setting up those amounts. And I want it to be a little bit of a stretch. I kind of want it to not hurt, but be a little uncomfortable, because then you're actually going to be saving more for your future and living on a little bit less. And I don't mean like, crazy thrifty. I just mean reasonably within your means. It's not enough to just save a little bit, maybe up to the company match for your retirement. You need to be saving for that future. And your two biggest assets, I always ask people this, what do you think your two biggest assets are? And most people are like, oh, my house. No, your two biggest assets are your earning potential and time. So the sooner I can get folks saving and investing, the more time they have. And it's never about timing the market. It's about time in the market. So the sooner you can start investing even small amounts in the market, the faster you're going to become wealthy, because time value of money is your friend. So I hope that helps answer. If you have any clarifying questions or want me to go even further from there, let me know. But that sort of gets people started down that path.
Oh no, that was to lack of a better word, a mouthful. That was definitely a lot. I'm here and I'm like, okay, which one? Because it's like so many things you said there. One being changing that. I think that's what happens for us as human beings. We attach certain mindset beliefs to certain words. Emergency fund, it's like, oh, I'm not preparing for any emergency. But I like the fact that you're switching that to opportunity, right? Opportunity can mean so many different things. You have an opportunity to invest in a business. You have an opportunity to buy some stocks in a new up and coming company. That opportunity, I think I prefer that word opportunity than emergency, because it's telling me save this money so that I can invest in my future. Whereas emergency sounds like save this money so you can go spend it on some death that is going to come up, some unexpected expense that's going to come up. Whereas opportunity for me, it's like, yeah, I'm investing in myself. So I hope, the viewers like really change that mindset, and let's not say emergency fund anymore. We're creating opportunity funds. Women, that's what we're creating. That's what we're doing. Because it's switching that mindset and really adopting to the things that you said, that, you mentioned there. And I just like, that was one of the things that stuck out to me. And also, like, I never knew that as an entrepreneur, I can have a 401k. Like, I didn't know that, right? Right. So
Most
I think that
people don't, and we need to educate people that everyone can have a 401k. Entrepreneurs and corporate workers, absolutely.
yeah, because I think it's that mindset, because we hear it so much in the corporate world that we think it's a corporate product, right? And not necessarily like it's a product that anyone can invest in. Oh, I thought you were gonna say something. So that, that for me, those are the two takeaways I got from that. It's like really change the mindset and change the wording. And I think that's where women tend to lack that confidence, because of some of the words that have been used, right? We get intimidated by the wording and how it come across as like, oh my gosh, that sounds intense. That sounds like a lot. Like I have to go and get a whole finance degree just to understand how to invest and how to manage my finances. So I think it's important that we do change the language around when we talk about finances and how to become financially independent. So I had another comment where someone said that, and every time I hear this word, I'm like, I don't know, I never know how to take it, because in my culture, it's like, oh, I'm kind of frugal, or I'm kind of really, it seems like though you don't want to spend, because I know there are persons who prefer to hold their money, like. So there's a low income savings account, and we're like, oh, let's just put it on that because it's secure. instead of taking on more risk.
Yeah.
What would you say? How would you encourage someone like that? It's kind of like, because I feel as though when you have that mindset, you're not looking for investment opportunities and you're not looking for ways to grow your money. You're looking for ways to safeguard it and not realizing when you're holding on to it and getting that 1% or that 0.5%, it's not really putting you in a position to secure your financial freedom and ensure that your retirement, you're setting yourself up for retirement. What would you say to someone like that? How would you
I think
advise?
it's an awesome question. So I think that is the point of an opportunity fund. Your opportunity fund should stay in cash. And it is to have the opportunity to pay for something that maybe comes up unexpectedly. So the opportunity fund that you have sitting in cash is a comfort. It's a cash safety net. And that is important for people to be able to make decisions to invest their money in something outside of cash. You know, the concept of inflation is the loss of purchasing power over time. Okay. Inflation is roughly on average 2 to 3%. And cash, if you look at those, even the high interest savings accounts right now, they are not outpacing inflation. So when you are investing for your future in cash, you're actually losing money over time. Not the dollar in your savings account, but when things cost more and your cash hasn't grown, yes, you're actually losing that purchasing power. So the opportunity fund is meant to be in cash. It's meant to just sit there as your safety net. But in order to gain, that's what I was talking about. Time is your friend. And people are so afraid of the stock market. And I can tell you the one and only time that people will lose everything in the stock market is on the day the earth explodes, right? I mean, the market is volatile. That is a true statement. The market, when you look up close on a graph of the market, it is like this. It is volatile. But when you step back and look at a graph of the stock market over several decades, inherently it's trending upwards. There is no guarantee that it will always go up. I can't say that. But what I can tell you is history has shown us that over time, the market will offer us returns. So when you're investing in the stock market, what you're doing is growing your money at a pace that exceeds inflation. And that's the goal, so that you are going to be investing in the stock market over time. And the more you invest, you're buying more shares. And then the time in the market, the companies are growing, they're having higher returns, and you're seeing the benefit of that. People need to recognize that cash is not an investment. Cash is a safety place, and we need some cash. But in order to grow your wealth, in order to probably get to where you would like to be in your future, the market is an absolute great place to invest. And if you're afraid about investing, there's people such as myself that are here to help with that. I'm all about diversity, right? We need a little cash safety net, and people need multiple streams of income. But look at your dividends and interest on your stocks as one of those streams of income, and embrace that it's going to get you to your goal faster.
Oh, I love that. I love that, because that's the misconception, is that, oh, yes, liquidity is important. It's important to have cash at hand should something happen, right? And yes, you need that cash right away. But to be financially secure and to grow your investment, having the cash is not going to do that. Mm-hmm. And I want to come back to like some of the investment options. But a question I have for you, is there an option to have a solo 401k?
Yes, that's what I was talking about for my entrepreneurs. So if you have your own business, you can actually set up to become an LLC and take a payroll for yourself and put that money into an individual 401k. You can set that up at any of the big brokerage houses. You need to work, with your payroll person or whoever helps you with your taxes and make sure that you are accounting for that correctly. But you can save the maximum $19,500 for age 49 and under in a pre-tax retirement account as if you were working for a corporation. You're just being the person who is doing the or the people that work for you doing the payroll piece of it. And again, it's like it would be an after-tax account. It's the same concept. You can choose anything that is available for you to invest in, and you're doing it on a pre-tax basis, which is the concept of that is that you're saving the taxes now, your investments are growing, and then when you are in retirement age, you're not going to have that high income that you're earning, and so your tax rate's going to be a little lower, and that's when you'll be using that pre-tax money, and you'll pay taxes on it in your 60s and 70s.
Oh, that's good to know, because I think probably that's another misconception, that we're thinking to have a 401k that you can't have it by yourself, right? You have
No,
to
you
have
absolutely
multiple
can.
persons.
We set
in
them
it,
up
so.
all the time for entrepreneurs and individuals. Absolutely.
Okay. Is there like a limit that you have to reach for your 401k? Like you have to, like no?
There is a maximum that you can contribute on an annual basis. Like I had said, the limits are 19.5 for 49 and under, 26 for 50 and over. But if you only contribute $1,000 to your 401k, that's okay too. You don't have to contribute the maximum. You can contribute anywhere in between 0 and that number, and that's going to be the number that you reduce your taxes by.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you very much.
Of
You know, I
course.
think, yeah, that's great information, especially for us entrepreneurs. That,
Yes.
you know, and you'll find like most women are gonna get into, because women are starting businesses, right? And I think sometimes
Yes, they are.
these are some of the things that we don't know, right? And we learn it later in life, and it's like, oh, if I'd known that from day one, it would have been helpful. So thank you very much for sharing that. I wanted to talk about, like, go back to what we're talking about, the stock market, because sometimes that's the misconception. If I don't want to invest in stocks and bonds, what are some of the other options that I can, look at in investing in? Because I think when we talk about an investment, generally that's the conversation that comes up. Oh, buy some stock in this company or do that. There are other options that maybe someone who is low risk that may say, okay, I want to do that instead of going high risk and putting my monies in. Are there other options that they can think of?
Well, there's always options, right? Like people are more comfortable sometimes with investing in real estate and having, rental income. Bonds are in theory less risky than stocks, but there's also a variety of companies. So there's companies that are more growth focused, where you're probably going to have a bigger return, but you're going to have a little more risk there. And there's some more well-established companies that pay a regular dividend and are less risky. So it's really just understanding or having someone, educate you on the various options. And all of investing when you're working with an advisor is based on your risk tolerance. And we gain that from conversations and your past experience, and really trying to understand what your mindset is around the risk tolerance for your investments. And then as a result, we're picking things for you to invest in that sort of are in the range that makes you feel comfortable. So I would say that people need to maybe let go of the limiting belief that it's always so risky to be in the stock market, because there's a variety of places where you can invest that are stocks that are maybe less aggressive. So your returns might not be as big, but it's going to suit your comfort level and risk tolerance.
That's a good point, because I think that's where that indecisiveness lies. It's the, what is my risk tolerance, because especially when we have saved up for a while and we have this savings, like, this is my nest egg, I don't want to lose it, but I want to grow. You want to secure your financial freedom for the future, but it's like, how do I determine my level of risk, and how do I, get my feet wet, and just like, and I think the most important thing is to take the leap, right? With everything in life, is deciding for yourself. Because I was having this conversation with my sister, who is, she's into, like, and I always believe that if you can start as young as possible to do certain things when it comes to your finance, it helps. When it comes to getting life insurance, when it comes to start investing in it, because as you said, time in is what
Yes.
counts, right? It helps. And of course, when you're younger, you're able to take on a little bit more risk and you're able to do different things. You have the flexibility to do that. And we were talking about the conversation that we were talking about is like creating that account where, we talked about the opportunity fund. I also was like, create an account as your investment fund. Like,
Yes.
this is the amount that I am comfortable losing, in the event something happens that I'm comfortable with losing that. Do you think that's a good avenue for women to take when it comes to like working on their financial freedom and just ensuring that, they are positioning themselves for a better retirement?
I would change your languaging altogether,
Oh,
actually. I say this with love, but don't look
that's
at it as
okay.
an
You're the
amount.
expert.
Don't look at it as an amount you're going to lose. It's not a win-lose. It's really about making a long-term decision. You shouldn't invest your money in the stock market if you need it within the next 0 to 3 years. You need to be long-term minded when you're investing in the stock market, and you need to understand and be emotionally prepared for the ups and downs. Volatility is what the stock market is about. But when you understand that every year the market's going to have potentially a 10 to 15% pullback at some point. Financial advisors love that. Why? Because we are buying great values on sale. So let go of the idea that you are going to lose and consider the fact that you're going to win every time when you are working with someone, when you are investing in the market, and when you are doing it over time. Again, when you take a look at a graph of the stock market, yes, it is volatile when you're up close, but when you step back, it trends upward. And just know that what you need to do is make sure that you're investing for the long term and that you're being diverse in your investments. I don't want you to buy only one stock. Your whole retirement or your whole portfolio is centered around that one stock. You need to diversify, and that's part of what we do for people, is to make sure that they are spread amongst a variety of places. It's it's leveling out. It's averaging to where we're still on the trend moving upwards. In some years, everyone is going to lose in the stock market. Some years are just worse than others. In some years, everyone's going to win in the stock market. You just need to recognize that it is not about losing. It is about winning, and it is about investing for the long term and making sure that your portfolio is diverse and knowing that you are securing your future financial freedom.
Oh, Amy, that is good news. I mean, I even caught myself when I said it, like losing, and you're like, no, let's not do that, right? It's changing that mindset and understand that you're not losing, you're not investing to lose, you're investing to grow and investing to secure your financial freedom. This conversation has been amazing. I think it's one that it needs to happen in different circles and in every circle as far as I'm concerned. And my goal at having style to impact, I've always said I don't want it to be just about styling women, and this is why I'm like, it's women empowerment through style, because my goal is to ensure that you are dressing your best to show up for these opportunities, to show up in these different arenas. And in order for me to get you to understand your potential and understand your value, I have to bring these conversations, right? Where I'm helping women to, whether or not manage your finances, whether or not it's working on your, understanding stresses and the importance of your health and the importance of building your brand. So it gives me great pleasure that you spend this time with me to come on here to educate the women that I'm reaching and talking to. And of course, for everyone to tune in, whether or not you watched it live or you're catching the replay, it's been a phenomenal conversation. I wish that, like, I'm looking, just listening, there's like so many different questions and topics and concerns I think that we can discuss, right? And it's like, no, we can't sit here all day and do it. I would love to have you back again. And I'm sure my audience as well would love to have you back just to discuss like different avenues, because there's so many things when it comes to finances that we haven't touched on, right? We just kind of scratched the surface today. So
let's just make it a mainstream conversation. Let's just start talking about money. Let women know that they deserve to be wealthy because they will change the world. Women tend to give more to causes that are important to them. Women tend to elevate everyone around them. And that's not to say that males aren't amazing. That's not a disparaging comment. But women generally are more emotional when it comes to taking care of others. And I want women to understand that wealth is an incredible conversation and that they deserve to be wealthy, because I know when you're a good person, you're going to do great things with your money. So wealth doesn't change you. It doesn't make you a bad person. You are who you are. And when you have more money and you are for the greater good and for your family and for those around you, recognize that it's okay to talk about for profit. You want more money. You want to take care of yourself. You want to take care of your family. And it's absolutely critical that you recognize and be confident in the fact that you deserve that.
Absolutely. And I think if you're in a circle of friends, groups, colleagues, and you're not having these money conversations, either you switch your friends or you try and, like force the conversation, because sometimes we all feel so uncomfortable having it that if one person speaks up, then it's a conversation that, everyone will take part in. So thank you very much for, spending this time, as I said, with me, Amy. I appreciate everything that you've shared. I'm doing this thing where I'm, even after these heavy conversations, just to like have a light moment with my guests where we can just like, have a little bit of your personality, a bit of, coming out. So I have 2 questions I want to ask you. First,
ready.
Good. So the first question is, what movie star, if you were supposed to make a movie, there was supposed to be a movie on you, like, being a financial advisor and everything, who would you like to play you? Which movie star?
Oh, gosh, that is an, okay, hold on. Let me think. Okay, Julia Roberts, because I just love her. I love everything about her. Right? Like, she's who I grew up watching, and she's about my age, and I just think she's fantastic. So I would love that.
Yeah, that's an awesome pick. She was definitely one of my favorite actresses growing up. It's like, yes, so confident and so bold, right?
Yeah, and like down to earth, and just seems like a great person. Like that's what would define me.
Yeah, awesome, great pick. So my second question is, if you were supposed to, because I have to bring this all into style as well. If whose closet would you raid if you had an opportunity to do it?
Ooh, that's a good one.
We're talking a little bit of style, because when we're financially secure, we still have to ensure that we're presenting ourselves and we're looking good. So whose closet would you raid?
Let's see. I'm trying to, I'm picturing like. Okay, I'm like blanking. I'm like checking an actress, or should I go with like a powerful woman?
It's up to you. You can choose an actress or a powerful woman. It's your style icon can be anyone. Like, whose closet? If I had I love the way she rocked that. Whose closet would you rate?
I mean, Heidi Klum, right? I don't look like Heidi Klum, but man, can she rock some style. I love absolutely like how adventurous she can be, but then how simple it can be. And she just looks amazing. So we'll go with that one, right?
That's a great pick. And I think this is the reason why I also like asking this question, is because you said something that whenever I'm coaching my clients, it's like, you said, I don't look like her. It's like, no, we're not comparing in terms of the body type.
Yeah.
It's what you said after. She's so adventurous, but it's so simple. That is what you should take away from it. It's like, oh, I love how she's adventurous and simple. So how can I be adventurous and simple but powerful in my look, right? And
That's
goes back to that.
powerful for me, Salita. I love that you pointed that out, right? Like, I can talk about the money, but you just actually gave me a light bulb moment for really what it is that I think defines what I would like to,
Yes, and
show
and
and how I look. Yeah, I love that.
that's what it's about. It's just switching off and changing those mindsets, because we like to compare ourselves. Like,
Right?
oh, I don't
Absolutely.
have, yeah, and it's
And
like,
what
no,
do they
that's
say? Comparison is the thief of joy. So let's let that go and just own our own.
exactly.
Style.
Grab
Yeah.
the positives. Go with the things that you aspire to, and you wish that, not the body type, not the speech. No, it's like, what is the message? How would I feel if I wear that? So that's you see, it may be fun, but there's a teachable moment within.
Everywhere there's a teachable moment. I love it so much. I love it. Yay.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate, as I said, everyone for tuning in, whether or not you're live or whether or not you're watching the replay. Thank you very much for joining today's conversation on Women Making an Impact Live. I'm your host, Solita, on behalf of my guests as well. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.